all. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel and the Star Trek stream. I apologize that we're a bit late in starting. I was attempting to finance a fucking computer, but, that's neither here nor there. And speaking of computers and technology, today's stream is going to be about us, picking basically, our favorite pieces of tech that we've run across in the show, and then having a little bit of fun with it, extrapolating where it may have developed to after the series ended. And of course, with me today, I have my friends Skeptalk,
Hi, everybody.
the One-Ton Hammer,
Howdy.
Irate Prostate,
Ngabagig.
and Dr. Functional.
Hello, Joe.
Hi,
What do you
let
know?
us play.
What do you know?
So yeah, we're just here to have some interesting, fun tech discussions. So, one of the things that I thought would be interesting to talk about is the fact that we hear, and I really wish we would hear more about this, but we hear Pulaski tell Geordi at one point, I can give you new eyes. Now, why do we not hear more about this? Like, we focus more on the fact that Picard has an artificial heart than we do, like, wait a minute, you could give somebody, like, have we perfected stem cell technology? Like, is this, like, it was not discussed at all. It was just like, oh yeah, I could totally give you, like, real eyes and you could totally see properly.
Well,
Like-
even cybernetic copies, with that enhanced spectral stuff that he had. I mean, I think if they could do it in a visor, they could probably do it, in a something that resembles a human eye.
I would like to see the visor, because
In vivo.
that's a cool piece of tech on its own.
But,
But-
they already do it. Because in movies, he has regular eyes again.
Yeah, but
Right.
that's because of, isn't that because he, when did he get did he get the real, I can't remember when he got the real eyes. Was that Insurrection?
Well, they were
that his-
they were cybernetic.
No, that was... What was the one after Generation?
Sometime between 2371 and 2373, before the time of the film Star Trek First Contact, Geordi's visor
Yeah.
was replaced by cybernetic eyes performing
Eyes,
the
yeah.
same functions. On film, they're depicted using a combination of cosmetic contact lenses and CGI. But
I think in sorry, I thought you were.
go ahead.
I think in Geordie's case, it was more a delineation between this is how he always saw through the visor,
Yeah.
through the cybernetic eyes, the reinterpretation of the data rather than brand new, like genetically compatible eyeballs.
Yeah.
I think that was his issue about getting eyes versus just updating his tech every once in a while.
Yeah. That was.
If I'm trying to bend a
he
little
even,
to make
he
it fit.
even said to Pulaski, he's like, because she was like, I'm telling you, you could get your sight back. Why aren't you jumping at that, right?
Well,
And he's like,
this
but
is,
I don't know if that, like, he's like, but it would be so different. Like, it would be,
yeah, it changed when in Star Trek First Contact, okay,
Yeah.
and then in Insurrection, he had a pair of natural eyes. But it says behind the scenes, the reasons for the change were eminent. Though it worked for the character, the visor became a burden for actor LeVar Burton, who found it uncomfortable to wear. First Contact took steps to note the difference in his new implants, but didn't specifically comment on it, leaving the change to be inferred rather than stated. First Contact's writers incorporated those changes without altering the important statement the visor made, something that Insurrection couldn't manage.
I could see that, like, because even as a character, like, even for Geordie's case, like, if I was in the 24th century, I would be like, come on, guys, you can't come up with cybernetic implants. I have to put this thing on my head, right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that to me, and it was always like it freaking got hacked by Romulans.
That's true.
Like,
That's the downside.
The visor did.
yeah, the visor did. That's what I mean. Like, the visor got hacked by Romulans.
So the thing that always dawned on me with Geordi's visor is that if he got regular eyes that could just see regular eye light, that would be a come down for him.
It would. That's why he was so like hesitant about it.
Ambivalent.
When
yeah.
Pulaski was like, I can give you
I can
real
make you
eyes,
normal.
and he's like, I don't know, because honestly, like if somebody said to me right now, Blind Press, you have the choice between normal vision and Geordie LaForge vision, I'm pretty sure you could figure out which one I'm going to take.
Yeah, you're taking LaForge vision every
Fucking
time.
right.
You know, 'cause you
Like-
see all the spectra of electromagnetic radiation. What an enormously valuable tool you become.
Would you be happy wearing a visor?
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I grew up wearing glasses, so my eyesight was terrible when I was a kid.
I'd wear a visor, no problem.
Yep. You can get used to that.
Didn't
Well-
the Klingons also hack it, says Duck Dog. It was a Klingon Romulan. It was a joint thing because wasn't it a Romulan and a Klingon that
All the Klingons did was they tapped into what he was seeing. That's all they did. They didn't make any changes to it or affect it except to just rebroadcast what the
That's
visor
true.
was seeing. So
the
they didn't really
Romulans were
hack
the
it.
ones that were implanting the hallucinations in his head and like yeah, that was the Romulans.
And how many times did the visor like save the day by picking up something that either the ship's sensors was specifically
Exactly.
for,
Yeah.
or that the human
Well,
eye could see? You
It
know,
went just the opposite, though, plenty of times, too.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
in the show Disaster, Beverly says, "Hey, Geordie, this wall is hot." And he stands up and he says, "Where?"
Yeah, that was a big plot hole. He should have been able to see that. He should have been able to see where it was hot.
Yeah, IR is like the Germans had IR technology
they
at
needed
the
to
end
give
of the
Gates
war.
some lines. Come on.
But I have to disagree about the statement about the heart and the eyes. Heart is not a complicated organ. It's a
No.
pump. It just needs electricity, and off it goes, and it does its thing.
Well,
but the
that's
We
why I
eyes,
basically
was-
have those
nerves,
today.
That's why I was a little bit disappointed that for a show that describes how its tech works so well, for Pulaski just to be written as a one-off. Oh yeah, I can give you. I no problem. But then they spend a whole episode on we gotta rescue Geordie from the Packlids real quick so Pulaski can go save Picard because his artificial heart.
She's the only
people
one in the galaxy.
Yeah, she's the only one who can save him. It's like
that's the other thing is that Pulaski was not like Crusher in that sense.
No.
Pulaski was all about genetics and pushing the razor's edge and all this technical stuff that was right on, almost theoretical. That's
Yeah.
where her life was. Beverly was just, I'll give you a shot. Here you go. You have a shot. Have a
Yeah.
nice day. She was a typical country doctor like Bones was. That's how she was designed. But
Yeah.
Pulaski was not like that.
No.
The
I
last
wonder
thing
how-
Pulaski would do was give you a shot.
no.
She'd resequence your DNA. Is what she would
didn't even like using turbo lifts and like
I just
Yet-
wonder how Geordie would have reported being hacked. Hey, I'm seeing some websites on my visor, and I don't go to these places, okay? I just want you to know.
yeah.
I've never searched on this stuff, okay?
But he eventually does get an eye upgrade.
Yes.
Yep.
It's that Orion porn side again. Jesus.
It would have been cool
Yeah, keep
to
his
have a bit
hands off the
more
ribbons.
detail on like if the cybernetic eyes were just a cosmetic difference between it and the visor, or did they do other things as well as like it would have been interesting to know a little bit more.
What would be the next step, though? Because that's what we were really talking about.
The
is-
next step
This is where the
would-
technologies are when we left the Star Trek world. What's the next
What
thing
does the
after
visor
that?
evolve into?
No, what
phone
do the
cameras.
What do the
prosthetic
cybernetic
eyes?
eye? What does the cybernetic eye evolve
Yeah.
into?
Okay.
Because the
Now-
visor became
But
the
I-
eyes.
Yeah,
What did the
okay,
eyes then
but-
become?
Fine. But
Could
yeah,
the
what does that
cyber
process turn into?
could we adapt? I use this word, adapt. Could we, once we debrief Voyager and everything, could we maybe figure out a way to use Borg nanoprobes to improve
Of
organs?
course you could.
Like
course you
like
could.
eyes or
Or improve your thinking in your
Yeah.
brain. It could make you more woke, for
Or
example.
what would that be improvement be? 'Cause you can use Borg technology to improve anything.
Are you-
Warp drive,
make you-
phase,
make you
anything.
believe January
Tricorder.
6th was worse than the Civil War.
could we
You
do?
can use
could
it
we,
to change anything. What would the change actually be? What would be the next step?
Maybe it wouldn't be in the eye itself, but maybe enhancement in the ability for the optic nerve to process more. Like you could introduce nanoprobes into the optic nerve of somebody that has a pair of these eyes, the cybernetic eyes, then they could end up processing more data than or through their eyes than a normal person could. Because that would be cool. Like if you could see like the like all of the things that the visor allows you to see with the cybernetic eye, and then you enhance the optic nerve pathway to the brain to allow more of that information, and then your brain could, you'd be able to process at a faster speed what you saw. I think that would be cool.
But then you're skirting on the lines of the laws against genetically engineering people. You might not be doing it in a cellular level, well, like a biological level, but you're using nanoprobes to the same effect. I wonder what kind of interplay that would have with the.
There definitely would be some
eugenics
pushback.
laws.
That's for sure. There would, because remember Starfleet's big thing about genetic modifications. Like look at how much they had to keep it secret about Julian. Right. So that could definitely be an issue.
They could have included a humming device.
Oh, maybe.
If Geordi ever got lost,
Or any
his eyes had a
Starfleet
humming
officer.
device with them. Well, yeah, I mean, you could put that into anything, but I even did it with the Iridium patch with Kirk. But that wasn't inside the body.
Mhm.
They could do the same thing they did with the Klingons and have the ability to rebroadcast everything Geordi sees.
True. I just want a
That would be a
replicator,
potential
says
upgrade.
Elwin. Yeah, a replicator would be nice. But would a replicator really be a good thing in our society right now?
That would
hell
be
yeah.
a real problem for the economy.
Yeah. Like
I mean,
we,
I don't
you
see the
still
problem.
need- you still need stuff to make for the replicator to make things out of. It doesn't just create
No,
stuff out
you
of
need
thin air.
energy. It converts energy into matter. So you just need energy generation. That would be, quote unquote, the economy. That's why
How
Star
much-
Trek is kind of like that post-scarcity world
Right.
where energy is basically the only currency. And because of the level of technology, energy is so abundant and cheap to sort of produce. It just kind of, here, everybody benefit in humanity's greatness now.
Yeah, how much energy would you need to run a replicator? Would it be a small nuclear plant?
I think it's something
Depends
like 5
what you're
warp force
replicating.
power all of Earth.
Would
Yeah.
depend what you're replicating.
I mean, you need a warp engine to run it on a starship, and that's only
Right.
1,000 people.
right.
So,
No.
what would you need to run it for a household? You couldn't do it on 110 current, that's for sure.
No, that's
That's not gonna cut it.
No, it wouldn't. And here's the other thing that we don't really hear much about. how do we, like, I guess the Federation has figured out how to cleanly, like, use the energy it has and recycle it. But we then run into people like the Malon, who literally dump trillions and trillions of tons of waste in different solar systems. Like, so is the Federation's clean energy strategy the only, like, does that stretch through the whole Alpha Quadrant? Does everybody else have a different way of recycling the energy that, like, when you use dilithium and all that stuff? Like, do other races and species do what the Malon does, or does, like, everyone follow the Federation's energy strategy? That's what I've always wanted to know.
I would assume that Federation's energy strategy and the ability to use energy requires a certain level of technical proficiency.
Yeah.
So if you're Malon, you haven't gotten that far yet. It's not like they wouldn't. I mean, maybe with their culture, they wouldn't do it, but you have to be capable of it first.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure
'cause
the Klingons, Romulans, they can all do it.
but do they? Right? Like,
Not as far as praxis is concerned.
just, yeah, exactly.
Boom.
Now, what do we think about how feasible would it be? Because we saw the ablative hull armor that future Janeway put onto the Delta Flyer.
Batman armor.
How feasible do you think it would be to outfit all of Starfleet's battle-going ships with that? And do you think Starfleet would be willing to use Borg tech the way Janeway did? Because we see that, like, when they, like, after Scorpion is the episode Scorpion is done, and they're trying to, clean up Voyager and get everything working again. And Chakotay says, B'Elanna did note that, a few things work better with the Borg adaptations. And what does Janeway say? Leave them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Federation would be as okay with using Borg tech as Janeway ended up being?
Or tech on itself, I think not. But I think that they would study it, would try to, divine the secrets behind how Borg tech works, and then probably the next, level of study is how to, using their current technology, replicate their types of energy sources, because I believe they use a different kind of plasma-based energy. Like the Borg cutter beam is like nothing that is in any sort of beam arsenal that we know of.
Yeah, how come we
just
never
from its
see
sheer
that again?
power. I'm sure they would reverse engineer that and see, okay, this is how this kind of works.
It's too powerful. That's why you never see it again. Go ahead. I just want to interject that.
No, but I mean,
So they would
you know
use
what I
it as
mean?
a
Like, they have
template.
more powerful tractor beams, more powerful warp drives. I'm sure that they could reverse engineer some of this stuff and learn how to use it. I mean, the Doctor basically does the same with the nanoprobes to do beneficial medical procedures.
Yeah.
Like, saves Neelix's life. Like, it does a lot of things that aren't just for 7 of 9 aboard. Like, for other people, it helps them.
And do you think somebody like Jean-Luc Picard would have a visceral reaction to that just because of his experiences?
He does in Picard,
That's true.
but that's not really Star Trek.
No.
I think the Federation would study it, use it as a template, and build their own.
Yeah. I don't think
exactly.
that they would use... Because Janeway's thing was to use the Borg tech against the Borg. I don't think the Federation would go that far. I think...
And I mean, she was, against the wall and,
Yeah.
doing anything and everything she could within reason to get home.
Yeah.
and protect the crew. So, I mean, it was kind of understandable, but would Starfleet itself adopt that? I think they'd be okay with what she did. I just don't think that they would, take the technology and just keep using it and, building from there. Like Hammer said, they would start from their own and
Yeah.
advance on it, which I think is really cool because Voyager, post DS9, they're so like the weapons are so powerful, the shields are so powerful, the warp engines are so genetic engineering, manipulation, like what Bashir does in basically turning, Odo, O'Brien, and Cisco into Klingons.
Yeah.
And that they could pass scanners. They wouldn't genetically be Klingon. They would look like Klingon, but they would also be able to fool scanners.
Yeah.
And
That was cool.
and I'd love to see where that goes, because then you have Voyager coming home with what they know about species A472.
Yeah.
And their bioengineering type stuff. What would the if the Doctor and Bashir got together, what kind of crazy genetic alteration, temporary stuff, nothing to, but wow. The implications for things like agriculture, medicine, maybe that would be enough to put them out, because we hear time and time again throughout the series, they cannot replicate perfect organs.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something that they can finally do, with their acquired technology and advancements, be like, hey, we can now fully replicate working human organs,
Especially
based on the
what they
person's
learned
genetic
from
profile.
the Vidians.
The Vidians too, yes, that was another good one.
Like if Voyager could bring home like what they learned from the Vidians and the contact with Dr. Dinara Pell.
Mm-hmm.
Like Doc and Bashir, like as much as I don't really like Bashir, he's like my least favorite Doctor. Putting those two together to kind of like as a debrief and kind of put their medical knowledge together, I think they could come up with some really cool things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what kind of transporter do you think we could now? Because we always hear about doing a touch and go warp transport, and how we have to like set it up and ready the transporter room and everything. Do you think that some enterprising engineer might come up with, might have come up with an actual transwarp transporter?
Like Bender Snatch Cumberbatch?
Kind of, yeah.
Where he teleports from Starfleet to Kronos?
Yeah.
Good God.
But like but like something that actually makes sense.
Yeah,
the ship the enemy ship, you just watched it go by, like it just went to warp, but you have its warp trail, so you have its coordinates, and you've done the calculations, like that type of thing.
I think the technobabble behind that was that the warp field itself interfered with the transporter beam.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting if they could solve that and do maybe, high warp emergency transports.
Yeah.
Because typically what they have to do is they have to drop out of warp, activate the transporter, and then re-engage warp.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it could just be like fly by a planet or a system or something, beam them out of the system in the emergency, and just keep going.
Because what was it that Scotty said? I never thought to think of space as the thing that was moving.
It's like trying to hit a bullet with a smaller
bullet whilst riding sideways on a horse.
I mean, that's kind of not really Star Trek either.
No, but Simon Pegg was amazing. I love Simon Pegg.
I'm how do I put this? We're kind of talking about improving things that we've already seen.
Yeah.
Making eyes better, making hard shields better, a hard shield better, making the transporter better. When I thought about this, I guess I didn't really explain what I was thinking when I came up with this. What I was thinking is about technologies that we don't ever see, don't ever know, don't even think about until now. to give you an idea, temporal phasers,
Ooh. I like that.
self-teleporting nanites, aggressive shielding, things that are just like, what the fuck? Next
I
level
like that.
stuff.
I like temporal
You know,
phasers.
not
That's
the shields are great, but we can add 10% more to make them better. That's not really what I was talking about. I was talking about completely thinking out of nowhere a completely new shielding grid and how it would work. You know,
interesting.
brainstorming stuff. That's what I was thinking about when I first, because
Interesting.
I've been thinking about this kind of stuff for a long time, because we see developments moving along, but we're at a point now where we don't see any new Star Trek. So
That's true.
we don't know what they're going to do next. We already know that there are such things as temporal torpedoes. We've seen that. But we haven't seen temporal phasers and how they would work. Would they fire and immediately hit their target without traversing space because they can stop time because they're temporal phasers?
That would be terrifying.
How about
Thermal
a ship with
shields.
How about a ship with multiple warp cores divided into things that need to be done by the ship automatically? That would automatically come online depending on what kind of threat they face. I mean, this is just out of nowhere brainstorming. Not just shields, but metaphasic shields that can absorb energy, channel it to the phasers, and also refract energy back at its opponent. Have we ever seen any of that?
Oh, like like a self-feeding system, basically, where
You shoot
shields
phasers
get
at me, you make me
energy.
stronger.
Yeah,
Good job.
Yeah, basically, you give everything you put at me. I'm basically indestructible at this point. Like,
There was a TNG episode where they fired phasers and it went into this cloud and like fractured like lightning.
yes,
Imagine somebody shooting at your shields and your shields doing the same thing.
that would be.
So instead of absorbing it, it would just shatter it around you and wouldn't do potential damage. That's the kind of stuff I was thinking about when I mentioned this before.
That's actually. I like that. I like that whole. Could you imagine, like, because Doc's whole thing about the emergency command hologram, could you imagine an entire intelligence thing of Starfleet, just holographic people just try and testing these things, like you said, like with the temporal phaser? Could you imagine not just a ship having a temporal phaser, but handheld sidearms?
BP, back up a second.
What?
Do you want holographic Borg? Because that's how you get holographic Borg.
Borg. A group of holograms that just do Starfleet's bidding with temporal.
Or Geordi could get phaser eyes. Temporal phaser eyes. Like,
Oh, God.
so small that he just looks at something and he phasers them.
That would be terrifying.
I think incorporating things into that sort of micro level is really something very powerful.
But what if
I
he was
don't
asleep
understand
and dreamed about like zapping somebody? Will it like fry his eyelids and shit? I'm just saying.
Make him sleep on the top bunk. I don't know.
The goofwad in me just had to pick up that one and run with it, So. Ooh,
Or
crickets.
or let's.
I laugh.
I'm trying to come up with. I'm trying to actually come up with some really interesting stuff that we've never.
I think phase technology itself is fascinating.
Yeah.
I think that it would be interesting to see where the whole temporal thing went, right?
Yes.
With the, because I think that I don't think time really exists anyway. I think that time
Bingo.
is what we call the measurement of entropy in our lives.
Exactly what
Yep.
it is.
It's
Exactly
man-made.
right.
Because until we had consciousness, like there was things were going around and there was stuff that was happening, but until there was consciousness, the concept of time was not really a thing. It was just
No.
like revolutions around the sun happened, and you know, like
Time is our accounting shorthand that we use to account for state changes that are either pre-incident, coincident, or post-incident.
yeah,
I mean, a thing happens and it changes from this state to this state. Say you have two things and they're both in state A, and then one of them changes from state A to state B. You have just had an event. You can now start. You can now begin to relate the state changes of other objects in your universe to the state change that occurred. When there's no state change in anything in your universe, there is no time. Because all time does is keep track of those state changes, basically. It really is nothing but an accounting system.
Jaeger Pony has a good point. He says someone
Man-made.
should have changed that.
Yeah.
Someone should have used that. That whole warp engines are fucking up subspace plot and turned it into a weapon. Yes.
They kind of did. She blew up the ship.
No, but I
Right.
mean, like, as a, like, more than just that. Like,
Intentionally to sort of
Inten-
sandbag
yeah.
an opponent. I thought that that's what quantum torpedoes did. They rip apart subspace. So I mean, between that and warp engines, but I mean they kind of let that plot line die.
they did, yeah.
But I mean, when they're at the point of being able to tear open subspace to cause a massive explosion on that level of a quantum torpedo, I'd like to see what they could do with like micro torpedoes of that sort of caliber. Like maybe no larger than a penny, so that like maybe they don't even register on sensors, or they can't register fast enough on sensors, so that you basically almost to the point of like instant transmission, and like weapons could become so just overly powerful in the Star Trek universe. It's really disappointing.
Yeah. It's like from like I'm just trying to, because Hammer even mentioned like self-teleporting nanites. Like I'm just trying to imagine the havoc that you could unleash just by programming a bunch of nanites to teleport onto something like a space station or a shuttlecraft or something,
Just
a planetary defense system even.
Eat and replicate so that
And
they
just completely tear it apart from the inside out.
yeah.
I guess I'm just a Looney Tune when it comes to this kind of stuff. Because while you guys are talking, I'm thinking, what would happen if you dimensionally shift a starship?
That would be, wow. Like in
Or
the
an
one,
asteroid into a planet.
like
What do you mean when you say dimensionally shift?
There's this episode of Star Trek that involves a planet called Rutia.
Right.
can't remember the name
Okay.
of the
Just
episode.
making sure I
yes,
knew. what you were
yes,
getting
yes,
at.
yes,
Dimensional
yes.
shifting.
I got you.
Use dimensional shifting to travel. I
And
was
it's
thinking,
killing them. And
It's killing
they
them,
need,
yeah,
And they
but-
need Crusher to help them.
right, but she says she can correct the damage
They
if
just
it's
have
only
to-
one shot.
Yeah.
So you go through once, she corrects the damage. So now you're normal again. And then you can use it again. And then she can correct it again. As long as you don't keep using it 30 times before she gets to you,
Yeah.
it should work.
Hmm.
So why not take that to the nth degree? Let's start dimensionally shifting entire ships. I mean, it's just completely ludicrous, which is exactly what I was trying to get to. Just the crazy stuff that we could do depending on what you see in the show already.
And then you program the nanites to automatically repair the crew and any systems that were damaged from the dimensional shift.
Why doesn't everybody have nanites in them automatically?
Yeah, I don't. Because
Well,
Wesley
that was
just
what-
invented them.
Yeah, it was such a powerful notion that it was one of those things they kind of had to creep away from. If you have a character or a weapon that works too well, that works all the time and solves all the problems, you'll find it very hard to write plot for that show.
That's why they had. That's why
The
they
Superman
had to,
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why they basically had to say that the the thing in Voyager in that episode, Prime Factors, where they find the spatial trajector.
Yeah.
That's why they basically had to say it doesn't work outside the planet, because otherwise Voyager would be done
Right.
in
Right.
its 10th episode. Right?
Yeah.
Like it would just look, we're
good.
home.
Yeah.
And then,
Boy,
then we
that was a
find
good-
out
that was a good
it
twist.
actually does work because Borg
Yeah.
cubes can use it.
Because the Borg killed it. The Borg stole it, and in Picard, magically it works.
It's-
So for
so-
something that couldn't work for Voyager, it actually does work.
Yeah.
But
Just not
just
for
Voyager,
Voyager.
Voyager just wasn't capable of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not the lady captain.
It was a lady captain. That's the show with the lady captain, right?
Yeah.
What Hammer? What about a phaser that's actually a transporter, but its sole purpose is just to, like a not like a proton pack, but maybe like a Ghostbuster trap. It just like sucks you into it.
I was gonna say, are you
That'd be a
trying
nice
to?
visual effect.
I was gonna say, are you trying to say that a phaser is also a port key?
Yeah, something
But
like that.
we already have that though, because that's how Data dies. He puts a personal transporter on Picard and beams him out.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
personal transporters already exist.
Yeah, but
No, but
That's true.
offensively to like, I don't know,
Kill
teleport Skep away from his computer and then like just destroy the data.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
I don't know.
I don't know why he
Let's-
singled you
let's
out,
not
Skep.
do- Let's not do that. Anybody with a
Skep's a good
teleport?
guy. I would never do that to Skep.
Marshall's just kidding.
I love Skep.
everybody loves Skep.
Don't teleport me away. Don't teleport me, man.
Or,
Bro.
you know, like teleport June from her home into. Never mind.
It would be interesting to use other technologies as weapons as opposed to being utilitarian. I mean,
Yeah.
technically that's what a phaser already does. It's a tool that you can use to kill.
Yeah.
So I guess you can use a transporter instead of just being a tool to actually kill somebody. I mean, that's a Genesis planet routine
Yeah.
all over again, right?
Yeah.
And then in the butt, it could have a replicator so that as you're absorbing the
Are
matter.
you trying to make a Swiss Army phaser?
Phaser? Yes.
Yeah, Swiss Army favorite. Yeah.
That can do anything and everything in the world. Teleport you and.
New from Mary Sue Corp.
Oh, Jaeger Pony
Lightsaber.
brings up the TR-116 teleporting rifle. Yes. The thing
I
that
don't
was
know what
only
that is.
talked about. So the episode in DS9 where there's a murder, and I think that's the one where Dax has to.
Ezri, yeah.
Esri has to kind of work with Duran.
Yeah, the rifle has a
to solve the
teleporter
murder.
built into the muzzle, right? And
Yeah.
it lets you fire the
And
rifle.
it fires a bullet.
And have the bullet teleport right in front of your target for the long range point blank shots. Like you could be a light year away from your target and shoot them. And you
Imagine
aim this
doing that with
mechanism by
quantum
wearing a
torpedoes.
special monocle that helps you see through the gun's optics, which also sees through walls.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an interesting thing. You control the zoom level by trackball. Evidently, it's on the side of the gun, and you can move it around. That would actually be a pretty cool gun to have. It'd be
That was
really
a good
convenient for killing
episode,
your
too.
enemies.
That was a very cool episode. Like, I don't like Esri, but that was actually a very cool episode.
You know, do you know how good? Yeah, I don't like Ezra either. But do you know how good a weapon that would be?
Oh, that would be an amazing weapon. Like,
That-
if you could accurately figure out where your target would be and then basically transport a bullet into them.
Yeah, that's
Like,
basically what
that
we're
would
doing.
be.
Well, that's the
amazing.
$64 question. Why wouldn't you just do that? If you had all this transportation, why do you even need a gun? Just transport, if you insert a baseball-sized projectile into the
Yeah.
middle of someone's brain, it's probably going to render them not functional.
Or several molecules of oxygen into their bloodstream.
That's
Well, it actually
Activate
takes a
their
lot
ass.
more oxygen than everybody
I know.
thinks for the, an aneurysm, or not an aneurysm, an embolism. Just so
Teleport a
you
photon
have
torpedo into
to pump a whole couple of syringes
Skep's
of air.
computer chair.
I remember my sister. God, I used like 5 syringes on her. But anyway,
Not a poison potato?
Don't be putting that stuff on the internet.
yes,
Potato gun with a teleporter in the barrel.
Oh God.
I
Now
remember
that's redneck
reading
trick.
the idea
Yeah.
for the nanites came from something that I had read. I don't remember what it was. It was a Star Trek novel because I used to read a bunch of those. And there was one with a guy who had gotten an old Constitution class starship and was taking care of a galaxy that was having problems. His name was Mackenzie Calhoun. I can't remember exactly the line of books, but there was like 10 books in a row. And he came up against an enemy who their entire structure, their entire society was based on nanotechnology.
Okay.
And how they fought him in his ship is they fired a torpedo at him, and when it hit, it released nanites that ate his shields.
Oh. That's
And that's where I
crazy.
got the idea of teleporting nanites.
That's actually cool. I cannot wait to get my Braille display because I'm just gonna start reading like all of the Star Trek books I could possibly find.
There's a lot of good ones out there.
When are you getting that, by the way?
It's gonna be a couple more months because of all the paperwork processing and crap, but it'll be probably in the beginning of the new year.
Sounds expensive.
Very,
Sounds bureaucratic.
very. It's both expensive and bureaucratic.
This is what happens when you put the government in charge.
Very
What do you
much.
guys think of something like a battle computer that has its own warp core that's separate from the ship's warp core? So when it
I
comes
think-
online and you get into a battle and an area of the ship blows up, it already puts the bulkheads in place. It already teleports everybody who has been sent out into space, teleports them immediately to the sick bay, and closes and puts force fields up on all holes.
I think
Why wouldn't
that-
you have a battle computer to do that?
I think that would be incredibly, incredibly helpful, and
That
would
I-
actually make sense.
I think one of the things that Star Trek generally has suffered from, it always was great at the imagination part of, figuring out new ideas that would fit well into a plot or provide something exciting, new scientific principles and stuff like that. What it was not good at was the follow-on engineering. They
Yeah.
didn't write enough shows about things like what Hammer's talking about, the things that naturally would have occurred to people to engineer using this new technology. You have this brand new technology. With Star Trek, they just tend to use it for one thing and one thing only. And in point of fact, when a new technology comes out, everybody is looking to make a buck off of it, at least in a capitalistic environment. And everybody everybody brings all of their talent, all their imagination to bear against that to come up with the idea that's going to yield,
Right.
more return. And there's no evidence of that in the Star Trek universe. And I think part of that is because a lot of the people doing the writing simply don't think entrepreneurially.
Very true. The Jaeger Pony says Starfleet's lack of automation is astounding. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, for a technologically advanced society, there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff.
Yes.
That could be better, more efficiently done by automation.
Yeah, you think would have been automated maybe 2 centuries before you see them doing it. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, for them, something like an exocomp was such a revolutionary idea. And I'm like, dude, we have drones.
Yeah, really.
So, like, to think that, again, it all comes back to, like, nanites, nano robots to miniaturize that technology to work them in a hive mind.
They only think one show at a time. I think it's really what it comes down to. They don't think it how things that they've come up with, even things that they did legitimately come up with, don't ever get incorporated into the universe. Dr. Rega showed us what metaphasic shields can do, but
We only
was
see
that
it-
was that propagated out to all starships within
No.
5 months?
And we only
No,
see
it was
the
forgotten.
Enterprise, and we only see the Enterprise use it once in Descent.
Right, and that was
Crusher
kind of
knew
like,
about it.
yeah, because it was kind of a guess too, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Can we
it
do
was.
that?
It was
We should have already
Crusher.
done it.
It was Crusher going. Oh shit! Hold on a second. You know,
I got an
like
idea.
We can
When-
hide in the sun.
when Crusher, you know, and it wasn't even 7 episodes before was the Dr. Rega episode.
Right.
So, and it really, and that episode really affected Crusher. So one would think that like that would have been something that she would have thought of.
And Rega himself died, so the information, like, who does it belong to then? I know he's
Yeah.
a Ferengi, but he wasn't a Ferengi.
No, he was a scientist.
He wasn't a capitalist. He was a scientist. From the dialogue, he was very, what's the word, philanthropic.
Yeah.
And so, where does that information go? You know, does it then just become public domain, so to speak? And then, like, why didn't Crusher send it off to the Daystrom Institute? And, you know, like Hammer says, it rolled out in every ship in the fleet.
Yeah.
Why doesn't
This is
Voyager have it? As a matter of
Voyager,
fact,
it's
Yeah, right.
absolutely
just
Voyager
as a
should
matter of
have it.
fact, oh, Voyager, that's a new ship, and I should automatically have it. There shouldn't
Or
even
the
be
Defiant.
or the Defiant. Yes, these ships are. I mean, especially the Defiant of all
Yeah.
ships.
Uh-huh.
But a science ship that might, actually go near a star like Voyager. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's what Voyager
Yeah.
was supposed to be—a battleship, but a science vessel. That's why they have a science officer as her commander.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you would think, all right, metaphysics shielding's been out for a little while. Got this new ship we're building. Maybe we should add this to it as a matter
Something
of course.
tells me the Grand Nagas put some sort of proprietary thing on it.
I'll tell you this: it would never stop the U.S. Navy. I promise you. New ship coming out. Oh, that's going to be on. That's totally going to be on there.
If Starfleet engineers teamed up with the Ferengi to build the application side of their creations, they would become unstoppable. Yeah, but the Ferengi don't really like cooperating.
I don't think the Ferengi have a say in this. It was a Federation's shuttlecraft,
No.
and it was a cooperation among several scientists. I don't think the Ferengi hold a patent on metaphysics shielding. I don't think that holds true.
No.
And even then, if someone like Crusher can figure out how to use it, I mean, how hard could it be for them to just roll it out? Again, it wasn't
Beverly.
really new technology. It was just a way to change the shield harmonics or something, so
I
that
believe so, yeah.
they could just withstand that type of radiation and heat. And it was like, okay, if that. Again, the Daystrom Institute could take that basic premise from Dr. Crusher and just be like, okay, we can make that work. And like 5 months later, boom, every ship in the fleet has new like software upgrades for their ships to be able to
Now-
modulate their shields that way.
Now here's
What was-
something that could really be... You want to talk ludicrous?
Ludicrous speed.
What was the name of that episode where this planet was split into two halves and Riker wouldn't allow them into the Federation?
Oh, that was the, fuck. I know exactly.
Remember the
what
names?
planet-
I can't remember the names.
I can't remember the names
two-
of it either.
Two people.
The Pret and
It's second
the-
chances.
Yeah, second chances. It's the Pret and the. Fuck. I know the Pret. The Pret were the paranoid ones, or the
Right.
Prit. I think is how
Prit,
you
the Prit Alliance,
The
right?
Prit, and then the other half. I can't remember what it was. It's driving me
Quick.
crazy now.
Skep, get your Google foo out. Get the name of the other.
Oh, do I have to?
I'm surprised you haven't already. You're so fast.
No.
Yeah, but remember Picard and Beverly share a device that allows them to share their thoughts?
Yes.
Why doesn't every away team have that? Then they don't need communicators to talk to each other.
That's true. But here's an absolutely ludicrous idea. A ship with a neural net,
Like
like
neural
Data.
Hell packs, that kind of thing.
No. Like a ship with a data brain.
A positronic brain.
Yeah.
Do we know how to make those?
Well, Sung did.
Yeah, but they wanted. I mean, there was a whole episode of how they wanted to dissect data so they
Data.
could perfect the the reconstruction of a
They
positronic
managed
brain, and even then it was a
to-
crapshoot.
They managed to figure out how to make a whole bunch of androids. Like, I know Picard technically isn't canon, but they've figured out from Sung's work how to.
And Bashir replaced part of Vedic Baril's brain with a positronic net.
Yeah.
I think that the ship's computer is a pretty advanced AI. There are just certain firewalls
Yeah.
in place to prevent it from becoming like self-aware. It is
It
kind
almost
of
did though. There was an episode where it did become self-aware.
But was it self-aware, or was it in
It created a
inhabited by
life form, didn't it?
No, it didn't. The nanites that Wesley introduced to it
were
were
controlling
the problem.
it, and they were invading the system.
So
And
you
they
won't
were
need
in-
any actors if you have an intelligent starship.
That's true.
It'd be kind of cool though to have a whole fleet of intelligent starships that you can actually talk to like they were humans.
Yeah, like, could you imagine Picard having to convince a sentient starship that it's not that its mission has changed, and it's on the wrong mission?
See, that's
Like
the cool
Bellata?
thing. A sentient starship is a cool thing.
Yeah.
I know it was a torpedo, but B'Elanna kind of did that.
Yeah, but like with Dreadnought, or not with Dreadnought, with the torpedo that.
Yeah, that looked like something out of.
The Kes Prit. That's what it was. The Kes
Prit,
and
yeah.
the Prit. Yep. That was the.
Yeah, because it's
two.
Casper 3, right? It's the name of the system.
Tin Man was sort of like that. Tin
Tin
Man
Man.
was organic though. Tin Man
No.
was not. Like, he was a Tin Man was. An
Tin Man was
actual
completely
being.
organic.
Yeah.
But Voyager is only partially organic.
Yeah. Gone.
I think it's a great idea to have an entire starship that's AI.
Yeah.
You know, Robert A. Heinlein explored that in one of his books that came out around 1968 called "Time Enough for Love," and he named the AI that his ship was after his wife who had died. He was a widower in this, and it's a very interesting book and takes a very interesting form when the AI, a little bit of a spoiler alert, decides she wants to be a regular girl,
Oh.
and and you get to have that adventure, and he just does a beautiful job telling the story. It's really a beautiful story.
A sentient starship community. Yeah, exactly.
Community. Look what Jaeger Pony said. Maybe they're just worried they'll make it more V'gers. Because V'ger is an intelligent starship, right?
Yeah, V'ger was, and
Yeah.
V'ger was supposed to be one of our Voyager probes. If you think,
Right.
like, if you look back at the
Exactly right.
at the Star Trek the Motion Picture, Kirk figures out that it's supposed to be Voyager, not
Yeah,
V'ger.
he actually rubs the name off the side of the probe.
Yeah.
Because it
Must
says
sterilize.
smudged or... Oh, yeah, it was another guy.
So did the Borg reassemble it? See, that's was always my question.
They
Who fixed
reassembled
it?
it? No, but they built an entire ship around it.
Right. So it would have been the Borg that did that.
Well, it was somebody that built that ship that went around
There's-
it. We don't know if it's the Borg. A lot of people
There's-
think it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's a fan made, like, 3 or 4 minute thing on YouTube, I think. It's called The Origin of the Borg. and they talk about how they found V'ger, and like incorporated it into their society, and they began to link together as a collective, and they needed a strong mind to keep them. Or it's the origin of the Borg Queen is what's the thing is, and it according to this fan-made thing, the original Borg Queen was a Vulcan because her telepathic discipline, like, and her mental discipline was necessary to keep the whole community in line.
I don't know. I don't. Watching the original motion picture several times, I never got a feeling of Borg from that
No.
ship. I got more of a feeling of Nomad than I did Borg.
I agree.
Because Nomad wanted to go back home and sterilize, and that's basically what Voyager was doing too.
Yeah, I get those two mixed up. I really do. Nomad and Vija. I am
Nomad was the one that
was with Kirk.
was asking about the units. It does
Creator.
not function adequately. It functions fine.
It functions irrationally.
Yeah. Let's see. What was the other? Did some? Costin says, has anyone watched Andromeda, starring Kevin Sorbo? Oh, you mean Hercules in space? That really,
Definitely Hercules in space, and it was awesome.
That pisses Pink Hollow off every time I say that.
Poor
But it
Ken
was.
Silva.
He even had that stupid stick.
I never liked Andromeda. I
loved
never
Andromeda.
liked it. I tried so
Nova
hard.
bombs are exactly what I want in a starship.
I
A
tried
torpedo that can explode a star and wipe out an entire system.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
We got that, right?
Well, yeah.
Try
Trilithium.
cobalt devices and try lithium resin.
The problem is using particles that we know anything about to destroy a star, something the size of a something that could be carried on a starship. You just can't damage something that large,
Just
that
throw a chunk
completely
of
with
iron
something
into
that
the
small.
star.
And everybody
they
thinks,
did
well,
it.
yeah, that'll make it stop. No, it won't.
They did it with Generations, right? It was just a missile. It was only 30 feet tall. Soren fires it at the sun, and boom,
Yeah, well, I
starts
guess
a
you're
chain
right.
reaction.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like I said, you just need to introduce some iron into a
What
star.
about a chain reaction that started when the sun was born? Is it still going on? Oh, yeah, it is.
If you just incorporate yourself into that chain reaction, it automatically proliferates through the rest of the star.
Yeah.
Thermal torpedoes. They could freeze an entire ship in a half a second.
Ooh, negative. When you said thermal, I thought hot, but no.
Yeah,
cold.
but then I flipped it on you. Cold.
Yeah, cold torpedo.
Freeze a starship so that you could take it over.
Sub-Zero in space.
Exactly. Mr. Freeze. Chill out. Freeze a star. Instead
Yeah.
of blowing up the star, you just freeze it.
Well, there was that episode where
Trying to think wacky.
that guy was transforming into a higher state of being,
Oh,
and
yes.
the enemy was able to
Bro.
make everyone not be able to breathe.
Yeah.
That was creepy. Just with their
How come we
mind.
never saw that again?
Maybe they used a teleporter to teleport all the oxygen
Air?
molecules out of the... I don't know.
Did the starship? Did they have their shields up when that happened?
I don't think so.
I think they were probably yellow alert. I don't know.
We're at 6:10.
Yes, we are.
Spinning down a little bit now, I
I-
think.
Yeah.
Damn.
So what do you think about talking about our favorite mirror universe iterations next week?
Yes! For the Emperor!
Yeah.
That's
TNG
right.
never had a mirror universe.
Because
right?
when we were just talking about the Borg, I'm like, thought to myself, are there Borg in the mirror universe?
No, there aren't.
Interesting.
There are Borg in the mirror universe, but they're good guys.
Yeah.
No, they would be called Grom anyway.
We are Borg.
Grob.
We will
Right.
give you milk and
Grob.
cookies.
Grob.
Grob.
And
Grob.
we are the Grob.
We are Grob.
We are the Grob. We are giving you milk and cookies. Please
You
listen
are the
to
Grob.
us
You
for
will
hugs.
have more milk.
We will fix your starship.
Resistance is expected.
Have a nice day.
TNT never had a mirror
optional.
universe.
No,
episode,
it did not. It did not have a mirror universe episode.
Well, that's what I'm going to concentrate
What
on.
would
then.
Came close.
What would the Grob Queen look like?
It came close with the yesterday's
Top
Enterprise. Was it yesterday's Enterprise? Yeah. That came close, and that was like even down to the wardrobe choices. You can see reverberate down through the subsequent series.
Yeah.
But they weren't evil. It was just a different timeline where they were at war.
Yeah. But yeah, I think having a mirror universe discussion will be fun. So that's what we're going to do next Saturday.
Sweet.
Good one.
And of course, don't forget to come by for the coffee stream on Monday. And of course, you can catch all of my friends at different times of the week. You can find Skep Talk and Functional with Harry tonight on Minions. And Skep Talk has a show on Minions on Tuesday at 11:30 Eastern
Blind
PM.
Press. Where
And I'll be
Blind
there.
Press comes, and I always invite Functional, but he never even responds to my DMs. Just going to get that out there.
You've been ghosted.
I'm
Sucker.
bitter.
And then, of course, Hammer does his Minions
Wednesday
show
show.
on Wednesday at 9
With-
o'clock, right?
Terry and Jen at 9 o'clock. Yes, ma'am.
That's right. And Irate, who are you interviewing tomorrow?
No, not the voice actor, but the character of Adonis Paul, the host
Nice.
of Late Night with Adonis Paul. So, yeah,
So you're interviewing AP, not Johnny.
exactly,
Nice.
exactly.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
That's a good get.
And then you've got your accelerated deconstruction and your gulag with Becca.
Becca, that's right. We're back. We're back on schedule Monday. We're going to be talking about the house activities report on. It's like a wrap up of the McCarthy thing, and it talks
Okay.
about the goals of communism, and you'll be amazed at how many of them have been accomplished. There's like a list of like 60 or 70. I can't remember exactly how many it is, but yeah.
Nice.
Amazed or terrified?
Hey, when the Soviet Union fell, the Chi-Coms just picked up where they left off.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
All right, my friends. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys had fun. It's always great to put on these streams for you guys. It's great fun. And be sure to come by the coffee stream on Monday. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great weekend. Thank you to my panel for being here, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
True.
Bye.